Alejandra, thank you. Incidents like this bring up a lot of emotions, and they also bring up a lot of concerns surrounding safety measures at our schools.
Yeah, that's right. So joining us now is Chris Reykdal, the Washington Superintendent of Public Instruction. So Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And just to all of you on the news side, I do want to open by saying you cover these in horrible detail, and that's your job. And I recognize the trauma it is to constantly be in the news telling these stories. So to all of you on the news desk, condolences to you, obviously the families in Texas and every parent who worries about this. It's very, very top of mind.
Yeah, Chris, we appreciate you saying that. I know that Jamie and I were just talking. We are both moms, and obviously this is any parent's nightmare, right? That this is something like this would happen. So it's really impacting. It's very shocking on so many levels. So I want to ask you, when something like this happens, we see this, I know this is happening in Texas, but parents are asking, what systems do we have in place right now in our schools, and what more can we do?
Yeah, so we've really built out a lot of systems in the last 4 or 5 years, mostly very bipartisan work legislature. Significant investments in school safety, physical safety, of course. We're designing our buildings now with different kinds of access points. Lots of districts, of course, have their own local safety officials. We have what's called threat assessment now statewide in all of our regions. When we think there's a student in crisis, there are teams that can intervene on a regional basis, community-based mental health providers, law enforcement. We can really move quickly. But I do want to say very clearly, all those measures in the world are not going to ultimately keep us fully protected from this. We do have to have a conversation about the volume of gun density and how easy it is to access it if you're a young person in this country. There are more guns than there are people in the United States, and that needs a better conversation.
Do you think there should also be a national conversation about having more security at schools, like school resource officers? Do you think that that should be mandatory across the board?
Well, I think we should be careful about whether or not there's a net benefit to that. We saw the tragedy in Buffalo of an armed officer there to protect people from an exact kind of event like that, and he was no match for somebody fully armed. So you can't harden schools and spend billions of dollars and still keep everybody safe, even with all those measures. So there's no question we should have better national frameworks. We clearly could use more resources. It isn't going to change until we all have a different set of decisions we make in our own personal lives about gun ownership. I'm not talking about laws. There'll be lawmakers who debate this. It'll rage on social media. As a dad and an educator, the data is so clear. Gun density results in more homicides and more suicides. People have to make personal choices on whether a firearm in their home is on balance good or bad, and the data is clear. You are much more likely to die from your own firearm in your home or loss of life of your child to suicide than you are to defend yourself. We got to think about that.
So at home tonight, as parents process this, as students process this, I know you don't want to have this kind of conversation with elementary school kids, but the reality is that this shooting happened at an elementary school. We're talking about 5 or 6-year-olds. They're kindergartners that go to elementary schools, and so how do you talk to kids that young about how this happened, how to process all of this?
What's some of the toughest stuff that we do? And obviously parents matter the most here, and guardians. They should talk openly about it if their students have questions. We do drills on a monthly basis around this, as well as fire, earthquake. Students have a heightened sense of threat awareness. And I think many times it's actually as damaging, particularly with really live active shooter drills, which we can likely still eliminate and not have any diminution to our safety. But it is kind of front and center for young people, and they've got these devices that are feeding them these live streams that we're doing. So they're a totally different generation aware of how unsafe the world can be. They're very aware. What we try to talk to them about is the low probability, the safety protocols we have in place, and to have that open dialogue with your family.
What advice do you have for parents who just want to make sure that their kids are safe at school? They're not sure of the protocol or the programs in place. Do you encourage them to reach out to their school and just have that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, every school has these monthly drills. They have a safety plan. They review them annually. They've got threat assessment protocols. These are in place, but they should reach out to their school if they're not sure. And obviously get engaged with your school board. These boards are adopting these very difficult policies. Check in with them. I think it's important that you feel confident that that's happening. We're one of the better states in the country on this, but nothing is going to substitute for trying to have a better conversation around young people not accessing firearms in their home. That is the source of all of these deadly and tragic school shootings.
Okay, Chris, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know we will continue to have this important conversation. All right, well, this incident brings the total number of school shootings in the U.S. to 27 this year alone. That's according to data from Education Week. Before today's school shooting, in the other incidents, a total of 6 people died. 5 were students or other children. 1 was a school employee, and 40 others were hurt. And one of these incidents hits close to home. You may remember in March, a gunman opened fire at Eisenhower High School in Yakima, killing his cousin and injuring another student.